Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Coffee and Cannoli podcast. Once again, we are talking wrestling with Survivor Series just around the corner. We are talking about our favorite Survivor Series matches, moments, whatever. It's just going to be an open forum discussion into some of our favorite moments and matches of Survivor Series. But before we get into that, I just hit 230 subs. We are 20 away from 250. That is the goal for the end of the year, guys. So if you like the wrestling content we're putting out, if you like these two jabronis right over here, give us a sub. Give us a sub. It doesn't cost you anything. Let your friends know if your friends are into wrestling. Let's build this wrestling community up. So with that out of the way, I just want to welcome back Caps, aka Muscles Marinara, who's been absent for a while, making his glorious return. And we also have the review man himself, the man who reviews movies, shows, and now wrestling. Campo Reviews is back with us as well. Welcome, gentlemen.
Hello.
Hello.
Can I talk into the mic?
You can talk into the mic. That's what microphones are for. So Survivor Series, little thing on Survivor Series. It is the second longest running pay-per-view in the WWE outside of WrestleMania. I believe it started in 1988.
Seven. Yeah.
Let's see. That's why you guys are here. The facts.
Hey, I know the old stuff.
Yeah.
Me too.
Just don't ask me what happened between 2002 and 2020.
The Dark Ages.
Yeah,
Same
the
here.
Dark Ages.
But so Survivor Series. So it's not going to be a top five. It's just going to be an open discussion. Why don't we get this out of the way? One of the most controversial things that ever happened at Survivor Series was the Montreal Screwjob.
Okay,
It's been talked at nauseum.
We're not going to talk about this, but I want to state that I have another moment that I think is more important, and I'm sure we all have really high important moments, but I think this is not the most important thing that ever happened at a Survivor Series, but it's the thing that caused the biggest rift ever in WWE.
And pro wrestling in general.
Yeah, it started the biggest chain reaction, though at the current moment of it happening, it was not a super important moment.
No, it
But
wasn't.
it was a
The
good
most
match.
controversial.
Yeah.
I mean,
definitely.
up until the finish, it was a fantastic match. Like, it was one of the best matches Sean and Brett had ever put on at that point.
It was probably one of the best matches ever in the history of wrestling at that point.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest with you guys. To this day, I haven't seen the full match.
I made myself watch it, but I stopped it before it happened. Right when it's the moment was happening, I turned it off.
As soon as Sean puts him in the sharpshooter.
Yeah.
But we got that out of the way. We talked about it. Everybody talks about it ad nauseum. I'm sure there's other places you can go to see and hear about it. We will not dwell on it. So does anybody let's start with somebody there. Campo, start off with a moment that you have.
So here's what I'm going to do. I have a lot of stuff here. I have moments, I have matches, since we're not doing top five, but I'm going to give you what I think is the most important moment ever at Survivor Series for me. It's the debut of Undertaker. I think
I have that on my moments as well.
The character of Undertaker, regardless of how you feel about him in the ring, which I still do think he's a good wrestler. I just think when you're comparing him to the all-time greatest, there's you can make the argument of certain things like repetitiveness, right? But he had a really good skill set for a big guy. The character is probably one of the best characters ever in wrestling, especially
I was just about to add that. You said wrestlers, but I would say he's the greatest character ever in professional wrestling.
Especially given the type of character, these goofy gimmick things don't usually work, and he's made it last for his entire career. He's physically imposing. He's had great feuds. He's had great matches, and this was the moment when he came into existence. And I think it's very important. Ted DiBiase, and I can't remember who he fought. Coco Beware, I think I read it was.
Yeah,
I haven't seen the match in years, but
know what's funny? $1 Million Man brought in probably two of the greatest wrestling talents ever into the WWE.
Stone Cold and Undertaker.
And Stone Cold and The Undertaker.
And Vincent.
Yes.
Had Vincent. Yeah, it was a 5-on-5, I believe. That was his debut.
That was his debut match.
Dusty Rhodes was in there. The Hart Foundation was in that match. There was a lot of big names in that match. It's so funny.
That's what I meant. Coco Beware was his elimination.
Yeah, that was 1990, wasn't
1990,
it?
1990, yeah.
I just remember that first. I just remember that first tombstone looked very vicious. Like
Yeah.
that was scary.
I just remember Roddy Piper yelling, "Look at this guy! Look at that ham hock!"
Yeah. He is probably the most consistent and one of the biggest, probably the biggest wrestlers of all time. Like
Yeah,
in terms of what
Yeah,
he
he's
did
very
with his character.
recognizable. People who don't watch wrestling know the Undertaker.
like the meme I sent you. No matter what you are.
Yeah, exactly.
He's been able to stay relevant for years, man, because he's been
Yeah.
able to reinvent that character in many different ways. I love that first Undertaker, and the second favorite of mine was the late 2000s one when he came back as a dead man, and
Mhm.
that run, like, I mean, as you get older, you're supposed to slow down, but he just got better and better.
Yeah,
And
he
he's
went,
my
not.
eyes.
He put on some all-time classic matches. So
like the match he had against Edge.
that one match of the 30 matches against Shawn Michaels.
Yeah, even the Triple H matches.
Yeah, I mean the Kane stuff. That whole
Yeah.
Kane storyline was excellent. His stuff with McFoley is legendary.
Yeah,
Yeah. But let's not forget that, you know, his first title match was with Hogan
the
at
next
Survivor
year.
Series the next
Which
year.
was one of my other things. So
Yeah,
I
so
mean, we might as well talk about it since we're
let's-
already here.
Well, let's talk about it. I mean, that's the match that Hogan complained that he was dropped on his head, which is
Yeah,
bull crap.
but
But,
what is it?
you
What
know-
ended up happening? They ended up taking the title back
Because they said his shoulders weren't on the floor when he pinned him.
Yeah,
But the funny part was the whole plan of this match was to put over Calloway, Undertaker, and to give him a name, and then at the next title defense, he was going to lose back to Hogan anyways. But
Yeah.
Hogan's such a little bitch that he caused this whole thing where Calloway's gone on interviews multiple times saying it was the worst moment of his career. He thought he killed him. He feared that like everyone was going to hate him because of this, and really nothing actually happened. The
it made
doctors
him
and
even
stuff
more
were telling
popular.
him-
It made Hogan look worse. Like, and this is not the first time that's Hogan's done that. Like the whole issue with WrestleMania 9.
Yeah, they found out. He said he found out years down the road from the doctors who looked at him that there was nothing wrong with him. And like, it's like, imagine you spent that whole time thinking you could have killed this guy, and they're like, yeah, no, nothing was ever wrong with him.
Yeah, but yeah, and Undertaker, like you said, had a lot of, going back to what we're saying, he's had a lot of fantastic moments. He debuted in 90 and retired exactly 30 years later at Survivor Series 2020.
Oh, we'll give that as a moment too. There you go.
He made an appearance.
Okay, well, we won't count these as your guys'
Yeah.
choices, but I think
No.
that's three significant Survivor Series moments.
Yeah, absolutely they are. Absolutely they are. And that is probably I would say one of the biggest Survivor Series moments of all time was the Undertaker. We didn't know what this guy was going to become at the time, right? So
Yeah, I mean, at the time you wouldn't say it, but now looking back, you're like, shit, that's a huge moment.
yeah, in retrospect, literally.
Yeah.
Caps, you got anything for me?
I got a few. I mean, I remember that first Survivor Series. I was a fan of Andre, and that was probably that first Survivor Series was probably one of the last times that
He was like the
kind
first.
of able to move a little bit and wrestle, but he looked pretty good. And
That was the first main event, right?
that was the first one. Yeah,
That was the first ever Survivor Series. Yeah,
Yeah.
in '87.
yeah.
Hey, Bam Bam Bigelow did an over the ropes like swanton or some shit. It
Yeah,
was
and
pretty
he sold
crazy.
huge for Andre.
He did.
He sold huge for Andre. That was the first ever sole survivor. He was like the first ever sole survivor.
Yeah,
Like he
and
was
there
literally the last one.
there was like 4 big guys left. It was
Well, the other
Bam
team
Bam
had
Bigelow.
Bam Bam Bigelow, Don Morocco, Hulk Hogan, Ken Patera, and Paul Orndorff.
so I just watched this recently. Yeah, who's on the other team? It's
Butch Reed, King Kong Bundy, the One Man Gang, and Rick Rude.
okay. So at the end of the match, it was one man gang, King Kong Bundy and Andre the Giant with just Bam Bam Bigelow left.
Yep.
And the funny part is the match ends. Andre gets his glory. People loved it. And then what does Hulk do? Comes out and steals everything. He just comes in the ring and starts flexing and stuff and like steals the glory from the guy. Like,
spotlight
what was
again.
that about?
Well, I think that was Hulk Hogan's peak. I mean, that was the coming off of WrestleMania 3. I mean, and then
Yeah.
Andre had to go away and get his back surgery, and then he came back for that match.
WrestleMania 4. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess they were just kind of like, giving back to Andre a little bit and making him look good. But
I mean,
that was
that's
that was
actually a
a,
really good pay-per-view. I remember I rented that one multiple times.
that was a good memory of mine.
Yeah.
I mean, I thought the
Well, how many are you going to
it's
give
one
us?
of his best matches. He
Okay.
said it
Yeah.
already.
Let's
Kevin
also
Nash's
say,
best-
let's also give some love to Bam Bam Bigelow. Probably one of the most underappreciated talents, underappreciated big
He
man.
peaked in ECW at a time when no one cared about ECW. So
Yeah.
that's kind of like what happened, right?
Yep.
Like the biggest claim to fame for Bam Bam Bigelow, I think, for non-super fans of wrestling, is him being in the video game.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. I would agree to that. But
Uh,
yeah, that was a great moment. Okay, I'll go with one. Let's talk about debuts. Rocky Mayavia's debut at Survivor Series. I think it was 96, 97.
see, and I had this one for a bit and I took it off, but like, I'm not going to deny that your choice, because I think it's still a good one, because it is the debut of The Rock, but he
Right.
went years of being hated before he became
Die
The Rock
Rocky
we know.
Die.
Where like the Undertaker was like immediately like this huge character, right?
Yeah.
But I can't deny that it's The Rock, unfortunately, as Rocky Maivia.
Yeah. But then Survivor Series 98, he returns.
Yeah,
That's his first title
Or
win.
2011, yeah. I think it was, yeah.
No, but no, you mentioned 98 because that was his first title win.
Yeah, 98 was his first title win
And-
against
and-
Mankind, I think it was.
Yeah, and they tried to replicate the whole
Montreal
thing.
Screwjob
But
the year after.
you're absolutely right. Like years after that, he made his comeback, and I think it's 2011.
Yeah, 2011 when he came back again. He was hosting Survivor Series. Was it? No, he made his return, and then he ended up hosting WrestleMania that year, which was John Cena versus The Miz.
yes, it was, and that's the year when he got the absolutely loudest pop I've ever heard in an arena when he came out, when they announced him as the host.
Yeah. And then he had a solid, I would say maybe a 2-3 year run with the company before he left again.
I think I think Rock came back to WrestleMania the year before, and then the night after, him and Cena told each other they were going to wrestle the next year, and then he wasn't supposed to come back. But then Survivor Series, he came back.
He came back.
'Cause
Yeah.
I remember he got into shape.
Yeah.
Like he wasn't in great shape like when he had that interaction with Cena.
He
but
wasn't
then
as
later on-
massive as he is now. Yeah.
Yeah, and then
Well, he
later
had
on the year,
Okay,
But yeah,
he
this
started
is-
off kind of small, and then he bulked up quite large, and then came back small, and then when he came back the next time, he was gigantic.
Yeah.
Well,
And
he's
now
got the
he's
money.
just massive.
He's got the money. So,
Yeah. But yeah.
but that was pretty good. That was pretty good. You guys
Very.
remember? You guys remember Diesel versus Bret Hart? I mean,
Mhm.
Nash says it's one of his best matches that he's ever
that was,
had.
I believe, 95
It was 95, I believe, right?
or 94.
Is that before the cage match?
No, 95. That was 95. That was before the cage match. Yeah.
I
Because
think
that's was that the year after. No, 95. When did it was 96 when they debuted in WCW, right?
Yeah. No. Yeah.
97? No,
It was late-
96.
It was late 96.
96.
Right.
So-
So that after Bret Hart beat Diesel for the championship at Survivor Series 95,
Yep.
Diesel went on to face The Undertaker, and that's when he got pulled under the ring.
Yeah, that title win led up to the match between
Him and Shawn
Hart
Michaels.
and Shawn Michaels. The
Where
Iron Man
Shawn
match.
Michaels, I think, won the Rumble that year.
Like, just that is my most
think so,
vivid
yeah.
moment in my head ever in wrestling history is Bret Hart getting out the cage through the door, Diesel trying to run after him and getting pulled underneath the ring by Undertaker. That was
Yeah.
like it lives in my head rent free forever.
That was a good scene. And then we never saw him again until he returned 10 years later. Or
But
whatever it was.
Hey, tis what it is.
Yeah.
Whose turn is it?
That doesn't matter whose turn.
Okay,
Just,
I'm going next.
go ahead.
okay, I have two, but like Sting coming out after saying he wasn't gonna come.
Yeah.
And like, I don't care what at any point of his career, whatever company he's in, whatever shape he's in, however his wrestling skill worked out. Sting is just Sting. He's the Undertaker, but if Undertaker went to all companies, he's like almost the face of wrestling at this point. Like everyone knows who Sting is.
Yeah.
He's so over. He doesn't matter what he does. He could lose every match and he would still be over.
Was that was the one where Seth was at the Survivor Series and Sting came out to
they were I think they were like in the middle of the match. It was Triple H versus Dolph Ziggler.
Yeah. The Authority versus
yeah. It was at that last, they were the last people, I think.
Yeah. And Dolph ended up winning that one.
But that's a huge moment. Like just Sting being in WWE is like something that like,
but his next match after that, he ended up going to WrestleMania that year, WrestleMania 32, I think it was. And they did the whole NWO against DX when everybody wanted Sting versus The Undertaker that year.
I just hated the fact that he lost.
They sting Sting twice. They stung Sting twice.
Yes.
First up with Hulk with Hollywood Hogan in WCW, and then he made his big moment in WWE, and they made him lose again. And I was like, "What is happening? Why don't you like this guy? This guy sells out literal arenas on his own."
And now the guy is 62, and he dives headfirst through two tables.
And he's one of the biggest draws for AEW because it's like this might be your last chance to see Sting.
Yeah,
and
that's very
using
true.
him properly.
What year was that debut when he debuted for WWE? What
2014.
2014.
Yeah.
I actually have this one. That's why.
Yeah, that was the whole. Can't believe that was that long ago. The Authority versus the rest of WWE. Been almost 10 years since that storyline.
But I think that's not just an important moment. That's a super memorable one because it was like Sting was never going to go to WWE, right? It was never going to happen. And then he did it. And
yeah, I think that was, the Authority. That's when they were trying to push Luke Harper and Rusev a little bit.
Yeah.
I think Luke Harper was IC champ at the time.
Embarrassing for the company, but yeah.
Well, now
2 years after that, Goldberg returns, right?
Yeah, that's the one here in Toronto.
Yeah.
And
I would have thought that he would
and I was at that one. I was about to say Goldberg destroys Brock Lesnar in 84 seconds.
Who would have thought? 50-year-old Goldberg
against a 45-year-old Brock.
I mean,
is he 45 years old?
No, he's 45 now.
He and me and Brock are like a few months apart.
That's what's funny. So off topic, but I'll bring it up later in the other video as well. I was watching Crown Jewel with my buddy, and he's like, I'm like, these guys are both really old, right? I don't remember how we got to there. And he's like, no way. He's like, Bobby Lashley's like 35. I'm like, bro, Bobby Lashley's older than Brock Lesnar. I looked it up. Bobby Lashley's 46 and Brock Lesnar's 45. And he's like, no way. He's like, he thought Brock Lesnar was 40 and Bobby Lashley was 35. And I'm like, yeah, Bobby Lashley's was in TNA a long time ago.
Well, yeah, Bobby Lashley's been at least 15 years in wrestling.
Yeah, no, Bobby Lashley's like almost 20, probably 20 years now. It was like 2000. Oh no, maybe like 2004.
Yeah, right? 04, 5, 6, yeah,
05, something like that. Yeah, so you're closer. But yeah, I mean, that's a huge moment. Okay, I'm not even going to let Nick talk. Can I do a moment again?
Go for it.
Holla, if you hear me. Listen.
Scott Steiner.
Scott Steiner was like so popular at that time, like so stupidly popular.
In the early 2000s?
Even the gap of time where he didn't wrestle, he was so popular still.
Yeah. I don't know why.
But there was just like this thing, and this is something I was talking about too. It's like some wrestlers have this thing when they come out, like The Rock. You smell what The Rock is cooking, Stone Cold with the glass break. Him when it says "holler if you hear me," and it's just like you get this immediate thing, like it's we're going down, right?
Or when you hear, "Whoa, what a rush!"
You know what I mean? But like nowadays, it's like, okay, someone's Bobby Lashley's music starts playing, he comes out, you're like, okay. 30 seconds later, you're like, okay. A minute goes by, you're like, okay, when is the match gonna start? You know, like there's some people like Chris Jericho where you're like, oh, this entrance is like special.
Yeah,
but
like
WWE
when you hear
generic.
Judas, the crowd erupts.
Yeah, and WWE is so generic right now.
Their music is terrible.
It's so Judgment Day was the best entrance for me. I freaking love their entrance.
Yeah, but the thing is, they keep changing and remixing their music every couple weeks, so you don't get used to that iconic theme song.
And so much of it is house music, and it makes a difference. I know you don't always want to do this, but like when Jane plays and Orange Cassidy comes out, you're like, oh, this is like memorable. Like everything in my head clicks together. Yeah, and it's like this is a banger. Or when Tarzan Boy plays. You know, you're like, oh, there's like this, the juices in your head are like, yeah.
Yeah, but then again, it's not always just licensed song. Like you hear the Crow and you know right away it's Sting coming out.
Yeah, there's a lot of moments like that. But I think that's a special one. Like Scott Steiner or not, he's arguably in the greatest tag team of all time.
Mm-hmm.
And he was a decent singles wrestler. His character was so over. Like it was ridiculous. And he was a pretty good heel. Mind you, he couldn't talk.
Yeah, or do math.
Yeah, but we don't want to talk about math skills. I'm sure a lot of the wrestlers from that era can't do math.
Well, then again, a lot of wrestlers don't have a 1 in 44 2/3% chance of winning.
Hey, you know, that's a huge moment for me too, because as a huge WCW fan, when they went away and it was like there was all these wrestlers like we're not ever going.
Yeah,
and then Scott Steiner was a huge pickup for them.
Yeah, but Scott Steiner for a while too, in the early 90s too, he was with his brother Rick as the Steiners in WWE for a short while too, before heading back to WCW. True. But that's a good one. I'm going to go with something more recent. I'm going to go with Survivor Series 2019. The whole of Survivor Series 2019. That was not just Raw versus SmackDown, but that was Raw versus SmackDown versus NXT when it was at its peak. And for me, 2019 was a very memorable year for me because that was right when, like I said, when NXT was at its biggest. And then I would say you had a 3-way match with NXT champion Shayna Baszler against WWE champion on Raw, which was Becky Lynch, and Bayley, that was the SmackDown champ at the time, in a 3-way match. Like, how insane is that match? You had Adam Cole, which was the North American champion, against AJ Styles, which was the US champion. And I think, can't remember and Nakamura, which was the like IC champion at the time. Like
I'm hoping to get booking like this from Triple H.
Yeah. Like it was insane. Like here, running through the card, you had Adam Cole versus Pete Dunne. You had, which like for the NXT championship, you had Bray Wyatt against Daniel Bryan for the Universal Championship. Like Lesnar versus Rey Mysterio. Like what a weird matchup that was. But you had like what it was like they took the titles, and that established for me the third brand that was NXT at the time before they changed it to 2.0 and everything went downhill after that. But they were really becoming that third brand. Like the participants they did Team NXT, Team Raw, Team SmackDown women's match, and the participants, the talent that was in the women's NXT team was Rhea Ripley, Bianca Belair, Candice LeRae, Io Shirai, and Toni Storm on this team. Like, this team was insane.
4 out of 5 of those guys those ladies are like the best wrestlers right now.
Right now. Exactly. Like it just was something iconic. They were going to do more with it, I think. But then in 2020, after the Rumble, the pandemic hit and kind of everything all the plans went out the window for that. But I was hoping for they were going to do something more. And from what I'm seeing, what's going to happen, especially with like them doing War Games this year at Survivor Series, I see big things for it to make it one of the big pay-per-views. Like in the last few years, Survivor Series has not felt like that big pay-per-view as it should be. Like they always refer to the big four: Mania, Rumble, Survivor Series, and SummerSlam. And Survivor Series was always one of the big ones. And in the last few years, it hadn't felt it. And that 2019, I think for me, was one of the years where it finally was back at that level. And I'm hoping this year is going to be something really special as well. Anybody else got anything else?
Yeah, I got a lot.
Go for it.
Caps, you don't have any?
The Alliance, those
Yeah.
matches, they were pretty
Where
cool.
Kurt Angle takes out Thing's leg there to win it for the.
Was that the first one? Because I remember like they had two matches, didn't they? One was to break off or no, to give creative control to
Paul Heyman.
Stephanie and
Paul.
Shane, I believe. Or
Was
no,
it?
you're Paul. Paul, I believe, is there too.
Shane was on the team.
Yeah.
And then the year after that is when they just disbanded.
Yeah.
I believe, right?
It didn't last very long.
Didn't last very long. It was a pretty cool storyline, but I guess it didn't last so long.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead, Campos.
Well, okay. In 2012, at Survivor Series, a group of guys appeared. Two of them are currently champions who lose for 95 minutes straight and then do finishing moves and win. But I think at the end of the day, the Shield is pretty iconic.
Yes, sir. That was on my list as well when they debuted in that triple threat match with CM Punk.
And we all know Putty loves the Shield, so we'll give Putty a shout out.
Yeah.
But like, it spawned one of the greatest wrestlers, at least of this era, in Seth Rollins.
Yeah.
And
one of the greatest.
He's the only one that's not the champion.
Well, he's U.S. champ right now.
Doesn't count.
And he wasn't even on Crown Jewel.
Yeah, he was on every other pay-per-view, but they're like, nah, Crown Jewel.
It also, in turn, that the Shield also ended up with one of the best heel turns of all time when Seth turned on the Shield and he joined the Authority at the time, led to him becoming WWE champion with the Money in the Bank. And if he didn't get hurt, who knows what he could have done with that championship.
You know what's funny? All of them, two of them, like Moxley and Rollins, both moved past the character Shield that they were on the Shield. Roman Reigns is still that guy. Like Roman Reigns until recently was still wearing that vest and
still coming out to the same music.
Yeah, and I you know what, I never thought about till right now. That's kind of weird, right? Like he never was able to like separate himself from that specific character, where the other two just became these two completely different things now.
Well, Rollins has changed like character so many times in the last, like he became the Monday Night Messiah, and now he's the Visionary, and
he's great. He's really special.
I think Reigns wanted to get away from that character, but
Vince wouldn't let him.
His boss was the one that held him back. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think he wanted anything that's happened, but I don't think as a person who's aspired to be a wrestler and be in WWE your whole life that you want to turn down the chance to be the longest running champion or whatever
of the modern era.
But I don't think he specifically wants any of this that's happening. I think he wanted his own character to go his own way. And I personally, I don't think he has any creative control over what's happening right now.
Really? I see a lot of like
I see Paul Heyman being like, this is going to make a lot of money.
No, I see a collaboration between all those parties, and then kind of like Paul Heyman kind of helping him out. Yeah, I see a collaboration.
Paul Heyman is definitely the puppet master in that.
I mean, let's be honest. I don't think Roman Reigns wanted to be the guy to go out there and say "suffer and succotash." Okay, so come on. I mean,
yeah, it's like you could see it, and it's like, but when you think about it realistically, like Paul Heyman has made nothing but hits.
Yeah.
So you sometimes.
Well, no, I mean he had that run with Ryback for a while.
Yeah, but Ryback was a huge hit when he was with him, and then as soon as they parted ways, he completely fell off the map.
He had some missed opportunities too.
Yeah.
One of them being Cesaro.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, but that is what that is, and now he's making a huge name for himself. And congratulations!
Yeah, he's doing so much. Like he's done more in the last 6 months in AEW than he's done in 5 years in the WWE.
No.
So
anyway,
yeah. Campo, I'm sure you got a few more.
Oh, I have a lot. Kurt Angle debuts. Survivor Series is like the place
a lot of debuts,
show up.
Kurt Angle debuted at Survivor Series.
Yeah, and I remember that.
I thought that was SummerSlam.
No, Survivor Series
against Taz. No, not against Taz. Sorry, Taz debuted
at SummerSlam.
My fault. You're right.
And didn't Taz absolutely squash Kurt Angle?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's fine. That is Kurt Angle is a wrestler who, when I look back at it, I appreciate it way more than I did at the time, and I never really liked as a character, but like as a wrestler, he evolved so quickly, and the Angle Slam is one of the best finishing moves.
He learned pretty quickly. I think he was
Yeah.
probably the most improved. I think his original character was to be the squeaky clean good guy, but then they realized that
Yeah,
personality that he had just came off as
but
a bit obnoxious.
we progressed into the ruthless aggression era, and he became that like goofy idiot. I didn't like that.
With the little cowboy hat.
Yeah, like that, like when he became the lackey for Austin and like all that dumb stuff.
Yeah.
Do you remember?
But then talk about Angle's run in TNA though.
I mean,
do you guys remember who Angle faced in his debut? I don't remember. That's why.
I didn't have that one written down.
No.
I just remembered it because I was looking at them.
What do you know what year it was?
I don't know. I can check if I have it.
Take a look real quick.
That's got to be 99
Survivor
99?
Series.
There you go.
Sean Stasiak.
Oh, nice.
Wow.
Meat.
I did have it. I didn't even know I had it. Good. Congratulations to me. I did a good thing.
Oh, that was the same year when China was IC champ and she beat Jericho.
Hey, you know, you have to win sometimes, okay?
Who was the main event in '99 Survivor Series?
Big Show beat Triple H and The Rock for the championship.
Oh, is that the one where Austin got run over?
I did it for The Rock.
Maybe.
Because Austin was supposed to be in that match. So Big Show,
Yeah.
I think, is that the one that right around that time where Big Show had a storyline with Boss Man where they were at the funeral or something?
Yeah, I think that was slightly before, but this is, I think, when Heyman was associated with Big Show, wasn't it?
Holy crap.
when Heyman switched from Big Show to from Lesnar to Big Show. Also, since we're on that, another big, huge moment was Brock Lesnar getting his first loss was against the Big Show at Survivor Series. So, I mean, and that was a pretty big one because Brock Lesnar was like the Goldberg of that era.
Yeah.
Like, don't ever try to explain to me that Vince McMahon was not trying to replicate Goldberg.
He was the next big thing.
He was 100% trying to make Goldberg. Do you have more? I have a lot.
Just like they were trying to make Stone Cold with Goldberg.
Yeah.
Right. What else you got, Campbell? Hit us with some gems.
Raw versus SmackDown in 2005. I think that's a huge moment. And I actually was watching some of that today. And that was like the first real epic crossover between the brands. There were some big matches. If you go look at it, like I'm not going to start naming them off the top of my head, but
they had some big names on both teams, though.
Yeah, they did.
Like, I mean, okay, obviously the SmackDown team was stacked, but because you got Carlito and Chris Masters on the Raw.
There's a lot of weird. If you actually go through Survivor Series in the era of like the late 2000s, like 2008, 9, whatever, the teams are really weird. One team's like all legends and the other team's a bunch of nobodies, and then they beat them. And you're like, what? Another huge one was the hold on, I'll see. I have this one. 2003, Team Austin versus Team Bischoff. I'm just talking matches now. I'm done with moments. I'm on matches. And that one was Shawn Michaels, the Dudley Boys, Booker T and Rob Van Dam on Team Austin versus Team Bischoff. That was Randy Orton, Chris Jericho, Christian, Scott Steiner, and Mark Henry. Like, what a match.
That's insane. Like, the amount of talent that they had back then.
And you know what? The Bischoff little era is so underappreciated. He effed up a lot of great things in a good way, in a really good way.
He brought in the spin the wheel.
Yeah, spin the wheel. Holy crap. It's make a deal. The Team Alliance one that you were talking about, was that 2001?
I think so.
The Rock, Chris Jericho, Kane, Undertaker, and Big Show against
winner
Stone
takes.
Cold,
That was
Kurt
the winner
Angle,
takes
Shane
all
McMahon.
match. Yeah.
That's the one. Yeah, I forgot I had it written down. Yeah, so that was the match with Shane McMahon on the other team.
Mm-hmm.
I got Psycho Sid versus Shawn Michaels, which is like the best Psycho Sid match that ever happened. which I've actually seen this multiple times. I've probably rented this VHS like 10 times as a kid.
Well, a more recent match, which was really, really good at Survivor Series, was from a few years ago, which was the first time Drew and Roman faced each other in 2020.
Yeah.
Where that's the one where Roman speared Drew, right? Knocked over all the barricades, knocked over the TVs and stuff.
Which now the knocking through the barricade is a regular spot, which when we get there, we'll get there. But like, I pretty much spot on called this. Like, I didn't send it to you guys specifically, but I wrote in another group in the Brock Lesnar match, someone's going to get speared
through the barricade. And sure enough, it happened.
It's very predictable. Okay, I'll just tell you the rest of these because these were just matches in case you guys said something that I said. Triple H versus Ric Flair in 2005 in the Last Man Standing match.
Mm-hmm.
Bret Hart versus Stone Cold in 1996.
That's
Batista versus Undertaker 2007 Hell in a Cell. That's like the best Batista match where they completely went off script and did everything Vince McMahon didn't want them to do. Oh, but it is the way it is. Yeah. Survivor Series had a lot of moments.
It did, and that's why I said I'm hoping this year with War Games, it's going to create another one of those moments. So with that, on that note, guys, we'll end this video here. Join us in a couple weeks when we do our Survivor Series War Games review, and we'll see if there's any moments or highlights that stand out from that. I have high expectations for the War Games. I don't know if you guys.
I do now because they're setting up things that better work.
Yeah. Who do you okay, let's do some who do you think is going to be in the War Games match?
At this point, I really don't know. I can't even speculate because I really just don't know. Because the way that things are lined up, there's so much split offs in WWE right now that I wouldn't even know who would be on a team for anybody. I know
my prediction, one of them will be the Bloodline.
I know for a fact one match is going to be Judgment Day with 2 extra people.
Yeah.
Maybe Rhea Ripley as well with 6 people against the OC.
Edge and Beth.
Yeah. And
Beth.
And Rey Mysterio.
Oh, Rey Mysterio?
I think it's going to be 6 people. I think that's because you can't pay off Dominic without Rey. I know it. They're not,
but I don't think that payoff is happening just yet.
But I think you need this
to set it up. It's going to be a Mania match. The payoff of Rey and Dominic will be at the Mania match.
I just don't know who 2 other people can be to be on the Judgment Day team. But hey,
you know what? Gacy from NXT.
Possibly, yeah. Still need another one.
Yeah. But that's a possibility. But I see the Bloodline with Kevin Owens and a bunch of other people, but they need to start building that now, this coming Monday.
Yeah.
Because they have big plans for Owens, and they're going to do the Owens.
Well, Owens hasn't been anywhere for a couple of weeks.
So I see Owens making a big return, maybe with what's his nuts there, Ezekiel, Matt Riddle against the Bloodline, because Riddle he's part of that too, because he's not allowed to challenge Roman anymore for the championship.
Yeah, and he was recently with Ezekiel on that Halloween episode.
Yeah, so I could see them doing that. I'm looking forward to it. So with that, guys, out of the way, at least Campbell stuff will be in the description. Caps, he shows up when he feels like it. Catch him on 5 for Talking over on ROG Cast. How about that? There's a plug for you. Yeah. So with that out of the way, thanks again for joining us, guys, and we'll see you all next time.